So just close your eyes and relax into your body, into your chair, wherever you are, and just start letting go into that breath that's breathing you. Just let go of any resistance as best you can, anything you're holding on to tightly, any concerns, any worries, any challenges. And even if they're still there, you don't need to hold on to them. You can just be aware of them, but just keep breathing and sinking deeper into this relaxation of just being present. And at this time, we do just call forward the highest love that we are, the highest goodness, sweetness, the nurturing, the caring, the lifting, the healing. And we just call it forward in every part of our consciousness into this beautiful body so that we can actually even feel it in our body, that we can feel this love and this lightness and this aliveness that is just grateful to be alive and grateful to be here, regardless of what's going on. We just ask to remember that our life is a blessing for us, that it is a gift, even in its challenges, and perhaps most in its challenges, and that we get to learn more about who we really are, that strength, that loving, that compassion, that empathy, that creative force, that silliness, and whatever it is that you know about yourself, that is your natural way of being. And so we're just grateful to be together here and allow whatever's present to be present, and that we can also be in an acceptance and in a loving of that, even if it's hard. And we're grateful we get to do this together and to know more about what love is from the inside out. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. Thank you so much, honey. And I am excited to say that. So, we are going to be doing these feeling, healing, revealing events on the 17th of the month from now on until my little heart calls me otherwise. But Eric's going to lead the next one. He is who I often pull on and ask for assistance from. So he is truly a healing master, and I'm excited to see what he comes up with for that workshop in a month's time. But right now, I'm just going to say, I love you, honey. Thank you so much.
Love you. Have a great call. Enjoy.
Mm. Alrighty, everyone. So I'm going to do my very, very best to do this dance between sharing practical information and staying in my heart, really staying in my center. So give me 1 second. Hopefully I show up soon for you all on the slide. Okay, great. That is what I wanted to see. Because I do want you to be able to see me. There isn't going to be that much information here. I'm going to try and bullet point it. But if there is one thing that I'm really excited to share about in this life, it is that our trauma and the pain of our past is a fucking gift. And it can help us find greater love, greater courage, and even more than that, it can actually reveal our gifts, our strengths, perhaps a beautiful path of abundance and miracles that we were never going to be aware of unless we had to climb this mountain. So I'm going to do my best to stay succinct in the information that I do want to share, because then we're going to dive into an actual experience, a closed eye experience of, okay, you say that love and compassion is healing. Show me, show me how that works. So it is early days. I do want to say that there isn't, nothing is definitive right now in terms of a real black and white proof. We are in the early days of being able to prove that it is love and compassion that rewire our neural pathways. Truly, if we're in a trigger, in a response of addiction, of whatever kind of contraction, of some kind of nervous system imbalance, that it is actually love and compassion that helps us rewire back to how we came into this world as innocent and hopeful and unlimited and optimistic. Unfortunately, still a lot of the world is stuck in the psychology of the 1900s that I'm not going to get into, but I am going to really do my best to bullet point the research that we do have that does show that love and compassion is the way. So I'm going to try and do a little bit of science and then have time for a big personal experience that we'll all get to have. And the reason that I am doing this is because I do think that it is kind of hard for our mind to get on board with how simple this is. Our mind will do pretty much whatever it can to avoid actually feeling our pain, actually feeling our challenges, actually experiencing the sadness, the disappointment, the shame, whatever it is. So I am putting the science on the table just to get your ego over that hurdle, so that we can then dive into a rich experience of this. I do have to say, I have to thank Ellie for so much of the energy in my life right now. It was so painful losing my beautiful blue heeler puppy. But walking my talk and actually really actively grieving the pain in my body of her not being here exploded me into courage, exploded me into, I have a voice and I have so much to say. And so a lot of what I'm about to share is in the book that I'm writing, because as much as it is a book about Ellie and my story, our love story, it is also a book about how to heal, how to grieve. So all of the references, if you're interested in any of the references today as to the studies, the specific science, I'm including them all in my book. So yes, that is a bit of a plug to support me on Kickstarter and pre-order my book. So I am going to get into the science, but I put this slide in at the very end, and perhaps it is the most important slide in many ways, because as much as I am informed by a doctorate in spiritual science, masters of spiritual psychology, and an early background in clinical psychology, none of that really matters more than my own personal experience of transformation, my own personal healing. And I had bulimia. I shared this only just on Instagram after writing this slide. I had bulimia for 20 years and I had this incredible, successful life. Everyone around me, well, who knows if everyone around me thought I was doing great, but I was traveling the world. I was perhaps in the height of success in as I related to it, and yet I still had this this Achilles heel of bulimia, and also I also had this condition that is called many things, but I was addicted to men that didn't love me back. And they were both very direct, traumatic responses to the grief that I had never gone through, because when my mum died when I was 14. So I enrolled myself in a master's of spiritual psychology and I dove head first into the work that I'm about to highlight for you. It's very nuanced. It's kind of like, you know, something as simple as finger painting, right? Like, yes, really, you're just putting paint on your fingers and you're putting it on paper, but there is a whole world of nuance that I can't really explain to you because that's going to be your way of finger painting. But I am going to give you the building blocks of how do we pick up our hurt feelings and how do we use our higher consciousness to truly heal and rewire. I'm just proud of the fact that within a few months of really doing this healing work that I released the pattern of bulimia. Within 12 months, I was with the man of my dreams that's still alive and kicking and called in the light for us only a little bit ago. But I guess my bottom line here is that it works. And I don't experience that it's often as quick as the way that I experienced it. It's usually often much more incremental and gradual. But because I did geek out and really used every single one of my painful moments through that period of my life, I do now know that it's possible to really pick up some of these negative patterns and really transform them powerfully. So love and compassion. I wanted to just underline, hopefully without going into too many of them too intensively, I just wanted to bottom line a lot of the science that is out there that proves, well, that's getting very close to proving, that strongly suggests that it is our love and compassion that heals and rewires our neural pathways. So this is from Dr. Brene Brown. If you put shame or any other judged, negative charged emotion in a petri dish, it needs 3 ingredients to grow exponentially: secrecy, silence, and judgment. If you put the same amount of shame in the petri dish and douse it with empathy, compassion, it can't survive. So I'm just going to ask each of us, maybe a pattern, maybe something that we're struggling with. Are we keeping it secret? Are we keeping silent? And are we judging the fuck out of ourselves, right? It's actually quite a tall order to really start to do this work and to allow great compassion and connection in. But I know that I was doing those 3 things pretty consistently, and that's why bulimia kept being the friend that I didn't want. It was my huge secret. I was silent, and it wasn't until I could really stop judging it, but have profound compassion, that it was actually a skill that helped me get through the death of my mum. Didn't need it anymore, but it actually was a beautiful friend when I needed her. So Brene Brown's work, I'm sure if you're on a healing call, you're probably aware of Brene's work. It's life-changing. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, I've only just recently discovered, and she has actually mapped the brain and how emotions reflect the brain. She is the neuroscientist that works for Harvard or studies with Harvard, I believe. But she is the one that is very close to proving that our emotions only last for about 90 seconds. So many of us hold back from actually feeling an emotion because we feel like if we let the floodgates down, if we actually like dive into our grief or our pain, that it's never going to end. Actually, that's completely untrue. And she is quoted with saying, just like children, emotions heal when they are heard and validated. And so in so many ways, that's what we're here to do today, not stay in our head, but really get into our emotions. And can we, no matter how irrational they are, because that's what emotions are, right? They don't make sense a lot of the time, but we're here to hear them. We're here to validate the experience of them. Dr. Gabor Mate is showing the world that it is compassion that helps us heal, not only from painful experience, but from addiction back to health. If you're not familiar with Gabor, he would be the #1 person I would recommend in terms of the books and the specific resources I turn to for trauma healing. Dr. Kristen Neff is showing us that it is self-compassion and not self-criticism that helps us change and grow. And this isn't a recent body of research, but it is new to me. Dr. Dan Siegel is pioneering the field of relational neuroscience or interpersonal neurobiology. And it is actually his work today that we're going to dive into in terms of what he has found about compassion. So I am going to go, before I get into this closed eye experience and a little more of the science, I am going to start with the bottom line of healing that I learned in a master's of spiritual psychology. And it's a pretty woo-woo school of psychology, right? It's a Californian spiritual psychology. So I just think it's so exciting that we actually now have neuroscience and like real science to finally come to the table and back what for years and years we thought was just warm and fuzzy. And so their healing bottom line for decades has been healing is the application of love to the places that hurt. Imagine if it was that simple. Imagine if it was as simple as allowing ourselves to hurt, being vulnerable, allowing it in the body, and then applying love. Self-love, another's love, a dog's love. Imagine if it were that simple. And I am here to say it is that simple. It's just not that easy. It's not that easy to move from a challenge out of blame, out of our many mental distractions and the ways that we deny emotion, into actually being vulnerable and feeling emotion. And it's not easy when we're in the throes of our emotion to actually lift into love. It's actually incredibly difficult. But is it simple? Yes. It is that simple, and neuroscience is showing us. So neuroscience is now able to prove that allowing hurt emotion, and they do this with EKG, they do this with like mapping pictures of the brains. I don't fully understand it, but I'm grateful that it is now validating all that we've known in spiritual psychology for decades. So allowing hurt emotion as an embodied physiological experience to be met with genuine compassion, which I'm just sharing as a deep experience of being heard, understood, and accepted, rewires our neural pathways and nervous system back to health, back to love, back to our original state. I love to talk about it as, when we're little, we have no good reason not to go, here I am, like, look at me, here's my love. Like, here I am, we're just expansive. We would never not trust life. We just abundantly get out on that playground and we're like, what do we want? Sandpit, jungle gym. It's just the energy, the productivity, the trust and faith and belief in ourselves is infinite. And then life happens, and it's not because we had crappy parents. It's not because we all necessarily have big T trauma, but life happens for whatever reason. And I do believe this is just the design of life. We're here to contract so we might know how to expand. But we all go through experiences in our childhood where we learn, when we put our big, bright, shiny light out there, it gets slapped down. And that really fucking hurt. So maybe I'm not going to do it again in that way. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to get abandoned yet again. So we learn to contract. We learn to hide. We learn to play small. So these are the pathways that we're learning to rewire. So today we are going to allow an embodied experience of hurt, of emotion, and we're going to learn how to bring in an authentic experience of compassion, of love, of kindness, of support. So in essence, we are going to be the ones giving ourselves the loving, the acceptance, the compassion that we needed back then when this traumatic or this contracted experience, this trigger got started, so that this faulty wiring is over time rewired. And I have underlined the word over time there, because it can't be understated. Healing is a process. It is incremental. I feel like an imposter sometimes, because some of my healings have been quite dramatic and quick. I have an incredibly juicy childhood. It took me a very, very long time to get there. So maybe when I finally got here, I was rewarded. But usually rewiring and healing some of these patterns take time. If we're looking to heal a lifetime of addiction and not believing in ourselves in one sitting down of loving some of our pain, I would just honestly say that's unrealistic. And I would also say that I'm so grateful that I have had to pick up little Zoe in her hurt feelings, in her pretty significant moments of sexual abuse, of being abandoned, of a lot of really crappy things. I'm so grateful I have had to pick her up again and again and again, and give her the love that she needed, because now I can support clients. Now I have this infinite loving energy in me that's not only healing for me, it's healing for others. So whatever we have to go through, I do know that we would gratefully go through it time and time again, because with it comes gifts, with it comes greatness. So just going to give us a little bit more information before we dive in. So first, we're going to feel. I'm going to guide us with a closed eye meditation that will support you in allowing a moment of hurt into your consciousness as if it were present right now. And our focus is going to be on feeling that emotion in the body and saying yes to it, welcoming, embracing it as fully as we can. And I don't have the time to go into this, but a lot of the very challenging emotion that plagues people is actually not emotion, but our resistance to feeling. Often we're exhausted because we kind of are aware of sadness or anger or shame or disappointment under the surface. And we're actually putting so much effort, so much resistance into not actually just feeling it in our body, that's actually what we're relating to as our sadness, as our feeling. So we're gonna get on that roller coaster and we're gonna throw our arms in the air. We're gonna say yes. We're gonna welcome the pain, the sadness, whatever shows up for you, but really learn how to welcome it, receive it in the body, as the friend, as the ally that it is. And then we're gonna do some healing. I'll be guiding us in bringing in an experience of empathy, compassion, of deep understanding and acceptance. And I will be guiding you to choose a particular representative of your loving, the one that works for you. And I'll guide you through it. You don't really need to understand this at this point, but we will be using a representative of love, I love to use my mum, that's now my best friend in spirit, but isn't here with me physically. I love to use my spiritual teacher, and sometimes I just use my high self. But when we're doing this self-healing work and we're starting to unpack something painful for the first time, it is helpful to bring in a representative of our love. It's just another part of us. But we're going to be playing with that as the way to bring in compassion and a very embodied experience of empathy. This is what I am most excited about recently, and I've been aware of this for a long time, but I'm getting bolder at sharing that when we do this feeling healing work, what is inevitable is profound fucking intuition and clarity. Whenever I do my grief work, whenever I okay, I'm really feeling shitty about XYZ, and I actually sit down with my little blue book and I do the work, I do the healing work. After that, because I've let go of a big chunk of energy that has been suppressed, I have this lightness, I have this clarity, and I have never tracked it, but I'm pretty sure all the best decisions I've ever made in my life have been after healing and clearing. All of a sudden, I'm aware of put my dog on the internet or do this particular thing. So this isn't just about healing because we want to feel better, whereas that really is enough to get me signed up, right? I hate feeling depressed or anxious. But now I do have to say I'm probably more motivated and a little more addicted to like picking up my little self-healing journal and doing this work because the profound insights, the profound clarity, the profound specific intuitions that I get. So I am going to now go into this closed eye meditation. And I will say, if there are any questions, please throw them in the chat and I will address them at the end. But right now I am going to stop the slides and I am going to pin myself so that the recording just sees me. And I'm going to ask that we all get pen and paper. And I'm going to ask that in this moment, we give ourselves the gift of truly knowing that it's only this connection to ourself and this ability to show up for an experience that is going to create something magical for you. Maybe you've done a lot of self-healing work before. Maybe you've done this kind of process before. I encourage you to find your inner 5-year-old and can you show up for this simple time together like you never have before. Be curious. Dive headfirst into this experience. So first of all, I'm going to ask that we all write down at the top of the page, and this is what I write down whenever I do self-healing. I write down the word intention dash, and then I make sure I anchor in the highest good. What is important when we get into levels of our psyche, our humanity, our emotions, is that we are anchoring this in a connection to our soul, to the highest good. So what I always say is I want to clear as much karma, as much trauma, as much etc. as I can for the highest good. And that's usually all I say. There may, however, be additional intentions for you, right? Maybe you've been feeling really fucking anxious for a long time and you just want to feel peace and confident and like safe in your world. Maybe there is a specific relationship that's really challenging and you would love to feel clarity and balance around that. But I'm going to give us just a little bit of time to write down your intention, but I encourage you to include, it is my intention to clear for the highest good. Something I encourage you to include for the highest good. Basically, we're not here to play with any lower levels of energy. We're here to activate the highest good, the whole spirit. And so that is a very important, clear container. Then I'll give you another half minute just to get creative. If you truly could ask for whatever you wanted, what's your intention? Write it down. I am hoping that most of you will assume this, but this is your personal process. You're not going to be asked to share this with anyone ever. Of course, if you have questions after this, I will be available to answer questions, but this is your time. You can dive into to the darkest space. And the wonderful part about self-healing is that we might not be ready to bring a particular secret before another person, but we're going to start the healing process if we bring it to ourselves. Our love, our compassion matters. So get bold. Alrighty. So once you're done with that, we're going to then just allow whatever hurt feeling comes present. And it could be just the shittiest moment over the last little bit. I would encourage not digging for it too much. I usually do this process only when the shit hits the fan. It's not like on Mondays at 7 p.m. I sit down and want to find a shitty emotion. It's usually when for a few days I've just progressively felt the same thing. I'm like, okay, there is a part of me that's not okay, that's sad, that's disappointed, that's angry, and it needs a bit of clearing. It needs some love. So in these moments when we're kind of bringing it up on call, I like to just look over the last couple of months and not in my head thinking about it, but more just like what pops into my mind as a moment where I really didn't feel okay. And so really just be aware of what that moment is. And then I'm gonna ask that you do a little me dash. So me is my abbreviation for my human, right? When I show up to the table to do this healing work, I'm allowing my human in my smallest self to have a voice. And so that's what we're going to do first of all. And so I dash, I do me. And then I'm gonna guide us to really give a voice to these really painful emotions, but to get out of our head and talking about it, but to get into our body. So, in service to that, once you have a particularly painful emotion that's present, I'm gonna ask that we get into our body and that we feel it. And the best way that we can do this is by being aware of chin down. Where do you feel it? Maybe someone didn't text you back. Maybe it was an argument with a spouse. Maybe your puppy died. Whatever was going on, what are you feeling? Chin down. Where are you feeling something? That's going to get you out of your head and into your body. Just be aware of where are you feeling this emotion? Where are you feeling this pain? And then once you're aware of where it is, just be aware of what it is. Is it dark and slimy and feels like it's pulling all your life force? Can't encourage you to allow yourself to get abstract and just very familiar with what it is in a very weird way. And the best way that we can do this is, what color is it? What texture or movement does it have? And then once we have those things, usually we're very clear with what is its essence. Is it sadness? Is it terror? And if we're questioning just from the chat here, if we don't have a specific instance, but we just feel a deep experience of something and we don't know why, great, go for that. I do believe that so many of us are so compassionate and so empathic that we do just pick up emotion from the world. And so this is a wonderful way, not only to serve ourselves, but to serve the entire planet. But just trust whatever you're feeling in your body. So once you have located, like, where is it? And is it kind of dark and gray and slimy or something else? And is it just disappointment or whatever it is? Once you've kind of got your finger on the pulse of it in some way, you're then going to just give it a voice. And I encourage you to extend the red carpet, a welcoming and acceptance really letting this part of you know that there's nothing that it could say that would change your loving for it. It could say, I want to kill and blah, 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 because emotion is irrational. None of this is going to mean anything, but it's energy that needs to be expressed and released. So, can you have the courage with an uncensored voice to truly give it a voice and just say whatever it says? So, I actually love this bit. It's great, right? I'm just like, say whatever you want to say, and we're going to have 3 minutes of silence. Give it a voice. Say whatever it wants to say. Really allow that pain, not from your head, but from the embodied emotion. Give it a voice. Let it write. Let it say whatever it wants for a few minutes. You'll hear my voice again in a few minutes' time. And so we'll have another half a minute or so. Just keep letting the energy stream, be expressed. And so, the beauty when you are doing this in your own time is that you can allow the natural completion of that energy. Usually, there just comes a stillness, a completion, a silence. It's kind of like when you ask a small child just to have that temper tantrum. Usually, they get to a point where it's like, they're done. I've had my say. I've said everything that I need to say. So that is my greatest encouragement when you're doing this on your own. But because we're together, I'm going to ask you to bring that to completion, to finish whatever energy, whatever sentence you're on. And usually, when there is some kind of completion, with it does come a lightness. But regardless, together, because we are all here together in this common intention, sharing and support each other in our light, we are going to very easily lift into a being of light that's going to support us in giving us the love that we need. So I'm going to ask that we all receive a being of light, and that might be your high self, your soul. It could be your mum. It could be your rainbow animal. It could be a spiritual teacher. But if you would truly want to be seen and heard by someone, and you would want them to hear everything that you just said, and you would want them to go, oh my God, thank you for sharing all that. I love you. I love you. Who do you receive? So receive a being of light, receive a representative of the loving source that you are, and boldly trust yourself here. I've received Yoda in certain moments. I've received Joan of Arc, just because they're who popped into my consciousness as the love that I need. So have the courage to receive uniquely whoever shows up for you. And then we're going to write down their name. Maybe it is Yoda or Mum or Ellie. You're going to just write their name, dash, and you're now going to give them a voice. And as we, as with all practices, skills take time. So this may feel a bit weird and awkward and not like it flows entirely. That's okay. This might be your first time doing it. Just do your best. But as we do this over time, we do have a profound ability to give our voice to the light in a way that is profound and beautiful. So just for a minute, receive whatever this being of light has to share with you. And I will guide you. In the bottom line that we are to hear is, I see you, I hear you, I love you. Your being of light ideally isn't going to fix you or change you, because there's fucking nothing in you that needs to be fixed. But you are ready just to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. So allow this being of light just to say that in whatever words, whatever nuance comes forward. We'll have just a minute for that. And so as you continue to allow this loving, this compassion from this being of light into your human, we are going to ground into the heart of compassion, which is, I'm sorry. And there are so many different ways we can take self-healing. but I'm gonna put on the table just because I'm intuitively guided to do so in this moment. But we're gonna play with the Ho'oponopono, which is a statement of compassion, a statement of forgiveness, which says, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. Can you receive from this being of light? I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And can you truly feel that forgiveness being given? So you don't need to write this down, but inside of you, please receive from your being of light. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And can you forgive the entire world? Can you forgive 100% for anything related to this experience? Can you forgive? And then we get to say to them, thank you, I love you. It's a very deep, beautiful practice. Hopefully the experience of it is abundant. For sure, one of these days I'll unpack it and give you more info about it. But our ability to receive from the universe, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry that you feel shitty. I'm sorry. That is the heart of compassion. And that is the heart of, oh, I don't need to defend myself, fix this, change this. There is no fault finding. It's no one's fault. I'm letting it go. Can you just really receive? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And then finally, to complete, we're going to have the opportunity to say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me to anyone that comes present. And you don't have to write this down, but can you just simply in your heart say, I'm sorry, please forgive me? To anyone or anything that comes up. And then let yourself be forgiven. And then say, thank you, I love you. So in this moment, I just encourage you to receive all the love, all the compassion, and all the completion from your being of light. Thank them, honor them, hug them in completion. And if you're feeling really complete, great. If you're feeling a little less than complete, be aware of what it is that you need. Maybe you need to hear something. Maybe you need to receive something, but ask for that. What is it that you need? What do you need? And then let your being of light give that to you as you complete, as you hug and complete. So we'll have a minute just to do that, to complete, to hug and complete this process. Alrighty, so bringing that to completion, I am just gonna do a bit of a centering, just to clear the energy, even though in me it just feels very light and clear. I'm just gonna allow that for all of us. And then I have time to answer any questions. That will be the completion of what I have scheduled for tonight. But if anyone does have questions or just wants more support, if they're feeling a little unresolved, I'm here. But first, let's all close our eyes again and get in a circle and hold each other's hands. Just really feel that we are in this together. Life can feel very alone, but we are in this beautiful life together. We are so supported, and we are giving our support to others freely. As we do connect into that oneness, that higher spirit that comes present when we do show up together in this intention of love and the highest good. And we receive all that the Holy Spirit has for us. We ask anything that has been lifted, cleared, transmuted, be taken back up in the highest realms of light. And we ask that over the coming minutes, hours, and days, that we continue to expand into greater trust, greater love, greater brightness and beauty of the light, the love that we are. For all of this, we are so grateful. And so it is. Alrighty.